Do you want to immerse yourself in art and culture with a flower theme, of course? If so, this is the video for you. Let me bring you the museums of the world to your home in a coffee table book called Flowers. The autumn mornings are drawing in, and I'm making the most of a quiet Saturday morning. A bit of candlelight, a cup of tea in my thrifted blue and white transferware teacup, and then a huge coffee table book. And if you love all things flowers and all things thrifted from the charity shop, why don't you consider subscribing to my channel? All you need to do is to tap the big red button that says subscribe. You'll find it next to the video description. And all that means is the next time you open the YouTube app on your phone, your tablet or your laptop, you'll have my next video waiting for you. I bought this fabulous book after I visited Tate Britain with a friend. We went to the Rossetti exhibition earlier this summer, and I have enjoyed this book so much that I've even highlighted bits in it. I did wonder whether I should do this, desecrating a book, but I thought actually this is my book and I want to be able to refer back to the bits that I found interesting. So this is the foreword to the book. It's a book about flowers, a world of flowers, flora in art, history and culture. And the foreword has been written by Anna Parvod, who you might know as a gardener and the author of the book called The Tulip. And the book, interestingly enough, isn't arranged in chronological order, although there is something about chronology at the back. It's been arranged so that the pages speak to each other. So sometimes you'll find really modern art next to art that is much older. Old masters, that kind of thing. So I've highlighted a few pages and I thought you might like to flick through this book with me. And if you're interested in sourcing your own or perhaps putting it on your wish list for birthdays or Christmases, I'll leave a link to it in the notes underneath this video. One thing I really like about this book is it's brought back some memories. I've been to visit various exhibitions and I've seen a picture that I recognise, and I think that's the fabulous thing about a life with flowers, is that it leads you on all sorts of paths and just makes life a little bit more interesting when all these paths slowly begin to knock into each other. Let me know in the comments whether you do the same thing too. I must admit, I've only recently started highlighting my books. Usually I put a little tag in the page that I'm interested in, and then I found afterwards I couldn't quite remember what was the passage or the quote that I was interested in. But since I have started on my Julie and Julia flower arranging project, where I'm recreating all 86 arrangements in Julia Clement's 1950s book, Fun with Flowers, I have started using that book as a textbook, more of a textbook. And I thought, well, if I've bought this book and I'm going to enjoy it, I want to be able to refer back to the things that interested me. So, which pages have I highlighted? The first one is this image here from Gustav Klimt. Now, we went to Austria for our summer holidays this year. We stayed in Vienna and we visited the Belvedere Art Gallery there, and we saw absolutely loads and loads of Gustav Klimt's work, including The Kiss. And that is what I love about this book. It's bringing me back, like in my own little photo album of memories from summer holidays past. And if I can still find them, I will try and overlay some pictures here as some detailed look at Gustav Klimt's work and the way he added texture. So the painting wasn't flat, it was quite heavily laid up, really quite interesting to see. And I've marked this page. It's a work by Harriet Parry. I don't know whether you know Harriet Parry, the florist, but I follow her on Instagram. And many years ago, with Charlotte Jacqueline, I went to a workshop arranged by Charlotte Jacqueline, and she had the florist Harriet Parry there, and it was based in Margate, and I took my daughter along and we learnt, well, I already knew how to make a flower crown, but I quite enjoyed the tutelage of a named, well-known florist doing a workshop, so it had a really lovely afternoon. So here, Harriet Parry's work has been paired with Joseph Frank. Here you can see the intense colour and dreamlike forms contrasted with a miniature ceramic vase more suited to a doll's house, which holds a tiny arrangement of flowers, pink gyp fizz next to a small stem of bouvardia, while eucalyptus, ginesta and mimosa and pink sweet William bump up next to delicate golden shell orchids. Harriet Parry, born 1985, plays with scale that is both disorientating and voyeuristic. I don't think I would ever have stopped to look at this page before, was it not for the fact that I took my daughter to the Frameless exhibition at Marble Arch, and we saw this painting in the first exhibition hall we went to. From memory, there were 4 different halls, each with a different theme, and the one I was most struck with was the one with the Impressionists. But this first one with this artwork by Giuseppe Acrimbolado, not quite sure how you say that, and I was particularly drawn to this because of all the flower crown that he's got on his head. But this room here had mirrored walls, ceilings and floors, and it really felt like you were stepping and being really immersed in the paintings, and they were slowly moving around the room, really sort of playing with your mind. Actually, it's surreal. This must have been the surreal gallery that was in. So it describes here a surreal portrait emerges from hundreds of minuscule, intricately detailed buds, flowers, leaves and other vegetation. Cheeks are composed of roses, lips of rosebeds and teeth from white lily of the valley. A coat of leaves spread out like a meadow, dianthus, jasmine and wallflowers in a white garlanded collar. So again, if I can find it, I shall put some footage there, and I highly recommend you go and visit if you're in London anytime soon. William Morris caught my eye here, and you can see the colours, which are particularly well picked up on the plate opposite. I've had a renewed interest in William Morris. When we were on holiday at Easter, we went to Cirencester, and I have got a video actually of me going through the charity shops in Cirencester, and then we went on later that afternoon to Kelmscott Manor, which is where William Morris used to spend his summer months. And I am always attracted to these big, busy prints. And in fact, so much so that I bought myself a tablecloth. Not in this pattern, though. We bought ours in the strawberry leaf pattern. Linkages continue that because I'd been to William Morris's summer home, we talked a lot about Rossetti and the affair that Rossetti had with William Morris's wife. And then, of course, I later went on to the Rossetti exhibition at Tate Britain. All these little linkages, the interwovenness of life. Now, you may know the name Constance Spry, but do you know the name Gluck? Just after lockdown, I went to the Garden Museum in London for an exhibition of Constance Spry's, for an exhibition showing all Constance Spry's vases. It was so interesting, and I'm sure those photographs have long disappeared, but I think I might check through the pages of my Facebook group. So if you're not already a member of Flower Start World, I'll leave a link to that in the notes underneath this video. So it says here that British painter Hannah Gluckstein, 1895 to 1978, was known from the age of 23 as the genderless Gluck. They were a British painter who created controversial yet powerfully beautiful works of floral arrangements, landscapes and portraits. Born into a wealthy family, Gluck rebelled against the societal norms of her class and chose to travel in a more tolerant set, emerging in the 20th century as a vocal lesbian artist, dressing in an androgynous style of men's clothes and cropped hair. And here we have the fact about Constance Spry. Gluck's 4-year relationship with society floral darling Constance Spry inspired a number of her own floral paintings. So it's got Constance Spry, page 270. Have I marked that? I'm just going to have a look. Yes, I have. Let's come back to that later. Then we've got the bleached out forms, a very autumnal arrangement here, the seed heads, contrasting with a vase of vibrantly coloured flowers. I was telling you about the exhibition I went to at the Garden Museum. Well, Rebecca Louise Law is a floral artist, and I've also been to the Garden Museum to some of her to see some of her works. She is renowned for the displays of flowers which are suspended from the ceiling and then dry in place, giving a very ethereal, beautiful quality. So it says here that this immersive sculpture by British installation artist Rebecca Louise Law, born 1980, explores the relationship between humanity and nature while illustrating the contrast between life and death. Nearly 1 million flowers and leaves gracefully decay over a period of 5 months as they envelope visitors in a womb-like experience. It was very interesting to look at, and especially I have memory that it was set next to some steps, so you could walk up the steps and look down on the exhibition piece. So although I didn't see this exact installation, it was something very similar. Now this painting brings me in mind of my holiday in Vienna once more when we went to the Belvedere Art Gallery. So the picture that caught my eye in the art gallery was one of these Dutch masters paintings. I don't think this is the same artist. I really love this display. It's so unnatural in the sense that you would never get the flowers displayed like this in a vase, and look, from a florist point of view, the larger blooms at the top, and it makes everything look very top heavy with the small blooms at the bottom, as if the whole lot is going to fall over towards you. And it says here, in a veritable painted catalogue of floral species, Flemish painter Jan Bruegel the Elder, I'm not sure I've said that right, went out of his way to include more than 100 flowers in a single image, all rendered in immaculate detail. Various tulips, irises, lilies and roses sit next to snowdrops, peonies and cyclamen, and a number of rare varieties. There is almost no overlap, and characteristic of this early type of flower painting, the bouquet gives the impression of being a tapestry of flowers rather than a naturally rounded bunch. And that there is contrasted with a very simple arrangement of tulips, a photograph there. And here we are back to Constance Spry, an arrangement of Love Lies Bleeding, which is the Amaranthus. So she designed vases for Fulham Pottery, or she at least sourced her vases from Fulham Pottery. They were glazed in the inside to make them watertight, but they were left unfinished on the outside edge, and the idea being that you would refinish your vase to match your decor at home. So it says here, a fountain of Love Lies Bleeding erupts from a marble urn and tumbles from a stone niche. This 1930s design by pioneering English floral decorator Constance Spry, 1886 to 1960, has lost neither its novelty nor its ability to intensify our appreciation of the quirks of this unique petalless flower. So you've gone from the unique petalless flower to a whole load of petal here by Lewis Miller Design. So much like you might have a flash mob with dancers, Lewis Miller Design is known for his flower flashes in America. And this one here is in New York City, spilling out of a trash can. And Mary Quant, that is just so symbolic, isn't it, of the 1960s, set against a more naturalistic daisy by Kerry James Marshall. And the page I've marked here is this plate by Josiah Wedgwood and Sons. It's a water lily plate from his Darwin series. And those of you who've been following me for a while will know that I visited the Wedgwood factory in Stoke-on-Trent in February this year. So again, I'll leave a link to that video in the description underneath this one. It says here, 3 different water lilies at the time newly arrived in Europe from Asia and Africa adorn this handsome Wedgwood plate from the early 1800s. And that's paired with clematis, which is a woodcut on paper, which you'll find at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew here in London. And does this book bring back any memories for you? I have got this identical book, but mine has lost the paper cover on the back, and my copy is just plain beige, and all this is imprinted in blue. I'll have to see whether I can find it and put a screenshot of that across here in the video. I must have got this book when I was about 7 years old, and I was allowed to have a little patch of my parents' garden where I grew flowers. It says here the profusion of lupins, sweet williams, pansies and nigella sums up the early summer peak of a garden near the English coast, with the sea glimpsed beyond the rising hills in the distance. You know, I've never noticed the sea there before. So this is, I think, probably going back, is perhaps my inspiration for designing or trying to plant up my own cutting garden. Have you been following along with those videos of mine? I post them on a Thursday afternoon, so do subscribe to my channel and catch up with my gardening exploits. I really am a novice though, so all advice and encouragement is appreciated. So that beautiful drawing there in the 1960s. There's works here by Luke Stevenson, The English Rose, 2019. So it's showcasing the rich diversity of the English rose, the national flower of England. British photographer Luke Stevenson, born in 1983, assembles 64 modern varieties in this vibrantly colourful grid. And I said at the beginning that the book isn't arranged in chronological order, but it does have the chronology at the back, going from 3000 BC all the way up to modern day. So plenty here to dip into and look at, and I'm sure would be a fantastic gift for any flower fan that you know. And if you'd like to see some more clips from the Frameless exhibition I went to in the summer, you'll have to be a member of my YouTube group. So if you click the join button, you'll find that under the description of this video, and pay your subscription through to YouTube, you'll be able to access that bonus footage. That's all from me for now, and I'll see you again next time.